Hello and welcome to today's episode on Export and Import Procedure. I Shivangi Anand and the subject expert of this episode is Sabiha Khan, teaching business studies at Center for Management Studies, Jamia Millia Islamia, will explain steps in export procedure. Export procedure consists of several commercial and regulatory formalities which an exporter is required to complete during the course of export trade transactions. The involvement of two or more nations makes things more complex. These formalities are complex and time-consuming and involve considerable documentation. We will study export procedure under three heads: pre-shipment stage, shipment stage, post-shipment stage. Pre-shipment procedure. A pre-shipment stage consists of following steps. Approaching foreign buyers. In order to secure export order, a new exporter can make use of one or more than one techniques such as advertising in international media, sales promotion, public relation, personal selling, and participation in trade fairs and exhibitions. Inquiry and offer. An inquiry is a request from a prospective importer about description of goods, their standard or grade, size, weight, quantity, terms of payment, etc. On getting an inquiry, the exporter must process it immediately by making an offer in the form of a pro forma invoice. Confirmation of order. Once the negotiations are completed and terms and conditions finalized, the exporter sends 3 copies of pro forma invoice to the importer for the confirmation of order. The importer signs these copies and sends back 2 copies to the exporter. Opening letter of credit. The documentary credit or the letter of credit is the most appropriate and the secured method of payment adopted to settle international transactions. On finalization of the export contract, the importer opens a letter of credit in favor of the exporter if agreed upon in the contract. Arrangement of pre-shipment finance. On securing the letter of credit, the exporter procures a pre-shipment finance from his bank for procuring raw materials and other components, processing and packing of goods, and transfer of goods to the port of shipment. Production or procurement of goods. On securing the pre-shipment finance from the bank, the exporter both arranges for the production of the required goods and procures them from the domestic market as per the specifications of the importer. Packing and marking. Then the goods should be properly packed and marked with necessary details such as port of shipment and destination, country of origin, gross and net weight, etc. If required, assistance can be taken from the Indian Institute of Packing, that is IIP. Pre-shipment inspection. If the goods to be exported are subject to compulsory quality control and pre-shipment inspection, then the exporter should contact the concerned export inspection agency, that is EIA, for obtaining an inspection certificate. Central excise clearance. Exportable goods are completely exempted from the central excise duty Such exemption can be sought in one of the following ways: export under rebate, export under bond. Obtaining insurance cover. The exporter must take appropriate policies in order to insure risks. ECGE policy in order to cover credit risk. Marine policy if the price quotation agreed upon is CIF. Appointment of C&F agent. Since exporting is a complex and time-consuming process, the exporter should appoint a clearing and forwarding, that is C&F agent, for the smooth clearance of goods from the customs and preparation and submission of various export documents. Export cargo can be exported to the overseas buyer by sea, air or land. However, shipment by the sea is the most popular and generally resorted to as it is comparatively cheaper. Besides, the ship's capacity is far greater than other modes of transportation. Nevertheless, transportation by air is utilized for export of expensive items like diamond, gold, etc. The shipment stage includes the following steps: reservation of shipping space. Once the exporter contract is finalized, the exporter reserves the required space in the vessel for the shipment. On accepting the exporter's request, the shipping company issues a shipping order. The original copy of shipping order is given to the exporter and the duplicate copy is sent to commanding order of the ship. The shipping order is an instruction by the shipping company to the commanding officer of the ship that the goods as per the details given should be received on board. Arrangement of internal transportation up to the port of shipment. The exporter makes necessary arrangements for transportation of goods to the port either by road or railways. Unloading goods into train wagon, the railway authorities issue a railway receipt which may be either freight paid or freight to pay. It serves as a title to the goods. The exporter endorses the railway receipt in favor of his agent to enable him to take the delivery of the goods at the port of shipment. Preparation and processing of shipping documents. As the goods reach the port of shipment, the exporter should issue detailed instruction to the C&F agent for the shipment of goods along with the complete set of the following documents listed below: letter of credit along with export contract or export order, commercial invoice of 2 copies, packing list or packing note, certificate of origin, GR form, that is the original and the duplicate ones, ARE first form, certificate of inspection where necessary, original copy, marine insurance policy. Customs clearance. The cargo must be cleared from the customs before it is loaded on the ship. For this, the shipping documents along with 5 copies of shipping bill are to be submitted to the customs appraiser at the customs house. The custom appraiser ensures that all the formalities relating to exchange control, quality control, pre-shipment inspection and licensing have been compiled by the exporter. After verification, all documents except the original GR, original copy of shipping bill and 1 copy of commercial invoice are returned to the C&F agent. Obtaining carting order from the port trust authorities. The C&F agent then approaches the superintendent of the concerned port trust for obtaining the carting order for moving the cargo inside the dock. After obtaining the carting order, the cargo is physically moved into the port area and stored in the appropriate shed. Customs examination and issue of let export order. The customs examiner at the port of shipment physically examines the goods and seals the packages in his presence. The same can be arranged for at the factory or the warehouse of the exporter by making an application to the assistant collector of the customs. The customs examiner, if satisfied, issues a formal permission for loading of cargo on the ship in the form of let export order. Obtaining let ship order from the customs preventive officer. Let export order must be supplemented by the let ship order issued by the customs preventive officer. The C&F agent submits the duplicate copy of shipping bill duly endorsed by the customs examiner to the customs preventive officer, who endorses it with the let ship order. Obtaining mate's receipt and bill of lading. The goods are then loaded on board the ship, for which the mate or the captain of the ship issues mate's receipt to the port superintendent. The port superintendent, on receipt of port dues, hands over the mate's receipt to the C&F agent. The C&F agent surrendered the mate's receipt to the shipping company for obtaining the bill of lading. The shipping company issues 2 to 3 negotiable and 2 to 3 non-negotiable copies of bill of lading. Post-shipment procedure. The post-shipment stage consists of the steps as follows. Submission of documents by the C&F agent to the exporter. On the completion of the shipping procedure, the C&F agent submits the following documents to the exporter. A copy of invoice duly attested by the customs, drawback copy of the shipping bill, export promotion copy of the shipping bill, a full set of negotiable and non-negotiable copies of bill of lading, the original L&C export order or contract, duplicate copy of the ARE first form. Shipment advice to importer. After the shipment of goods, the exporter intimates the importer about the shipment of the goods, giving him details about the date of shipment, the name of the vessel, the destination, etc. He should also send one copy of non-negotiable bill of lading to the importer. Presentation of the documents to the bank for negotiation. Submission of relevant documents to the bank and the process of getting the payment from the bank is called negotiation of the documents, and the documents are called negotiable sets of documents. The set normally contains bill of exchange, side draft or usance draft, full set of bill of lading or airway bill, original letter of credit, customs invoice, commercial invoice including one copy duly certified by the customs, packing list, foreign exchange declaration forms, GR, Softex, PP forms in duplicate, exchange control copy of the shipping bill, certificate of origin, GSP or APR certificate, etc. Marine insurance policy in duplicate. Dispatch of documents. The bank negotiates these documents to the importer's bank in the manner specified in the L by C. Before negotiating documents, the exporter's bank scrutinizes them in order to ensure that all the formalities have been complied with and all documents are in order. The bank then sends the bank certificate and the attested copies of commercial invoice to the exporter. Acceptance of bill of exchange. Bill of exchange accompanied by the documents is known as documentary bill of exchange. It is of two types: documents against payment or side drafts. In case of side draft, the drawer instructs the bank to hand over the relevant documents to the importer only against payment. Documents against acceptance, usance draft. In case of usance draft, the drawer instructs the bank to hand over the relevant documents to the importer against his acceptance of bill of exchange. Letter of indemnity. The exporter can get immediate payment from his bank on submission of documents by signing a letter of indemnity. By signing letter of indemnity, the exporter undertakes the indemnity the bank in the event of non-receipt of payment from the importer along with accrued interest. Realization of export proceeds. On receiving the documentary bill of exchange, the importer releases payment in case of side draft or accepts the usance draft undertaking to pay on maturity of bill of exchange. The exporter's bank receives the payment through importer's bank is credited to exporter's account. Processing of GR form. On receiving the export proceeds, the exporter's bank intimates the same to RBI by recording the fact on the duplicate copy of GR. The RBI verifies the details in duplicate copy of GR with the original copy of GR received from the customs. If the details are found to be in order, then the export transaction is treated to be completed. Realization of export incentives. If the exporter is eligible for export incentives, then he should submit claim for the same accompanied by the bank certificate to the appropriate authority. Generally, all export orders, including those for long-term supply contracts and project exports, are invariably quoted on the basis of detailed documentation and written agreements signed by both the importer and the exporter. Large part of India's export is carried without the backing of written export contracts. In such cases, a contract known as constructed contract exists. In order to promote export of quality goods as per international standards, the Government of India has introduced compulsory quality control and pre-shipment inspection for 90% of the items of export. Some of the items are food and agricultural products, chemical and allied products, engineering goods, textiles, and coir and jute products. Export Inspection Council has recognized 3 systems of pre-shipment inspection, self-certification. Under this system, manufacturing units certifies its own products and issue certificate for export. The manufacturing units recognized pay a nominal fee. In process quality control, that is IPQC. Under this system, stage by stage inspection of products like chemical and engineering goods is done during the process of production. The inspection include raw materials bought, process control, product control, packing and packaging control. Consignment wise inspection. Under this system, each individual consignment is subject to compulsory inspection by the export inspection agencies, that is EIA. The export applies to EIA 7 days before the expected date of shipment. The Deputy Director issues inspection certificate. Import procedure. Due to liberalization of imports and changing consumer profile, imports have increased in India. Major imports of India include cereals, edible oils, sugar, pulp and paper, newsprint, crude rubber, and iron and steel. In India, all the activities related to import are handled by the Directorate General of Foreign Trade, that is DGFT. It is a government body that also controls the export business of India. Legal dimensions of import procedure. Finalization of terms of contract. The import contract should be carefully and comprehensively drafted, incorporating therein precise terms as well as all relevant conditions of the trade deal. There should be no ambiguity regarding the exact specifications of goods and terms of purchase, including import price, mode of payment, type of packaging, port of shipment, delivery schedule, license and permits, insurance, etc. Mode of pricing and INCO terms. While finalizing terms of import contract, the importer should be fully conversant with the mode of pricing and manner of payment for the imports. As regards mode of pricing, the overseas supplier should quote the terms prevailing in international trade known as INCO terms, that is universally accepted. Mode of settlement of payment. There are mainly three modes of settling international transactions depending upon the creditworthiness of the importer and exporter. Demand for the commodity in the international market, exchange control regulations prevailing in the importer or exporter countries and other relevant factors. Advance payment, payment or acceptance against documentary collections, payment under letter of credit. Obtaining IEC number. It is obligatory for every importer to register them with Directorate General of Foreign Trade, that is DGFT, and to obtain import-export, that is IEC number. Obtaining import license. If the item to be imported falls under prohibited list, then such items cannot be imported. If it falls under restricted list, then necessary clearance must be obtained from appropriate licensing authority. Obtaining foreign exchange. In India, all foreign exchange transactions are regulated by the Exchange Control Department of the Reserve Bank of India. Therefore, every importer is required to make an application to RBI for getting sanction for making overseas payment. Obtaining import, that is LNC limit. Import LNC limits are sanctioned by the banks on submission of complete loan proposal. Any delay in retirement of bills not only strains the relation of the importer with his bank, but also results in additional cost by way of extra commission, penal interest, demurrage charges, etc. Customs clearance for imported goods. All goods imported in India have to pass through the customs clearance after they cross Indian border. The goods so imported are examined, appraised, assessed, evaluated and then allowed to be taken out of customs charge for use by the importer. The procedures for customs clearance in general for goods imported are as follows. Import manifest. It is a complete list of all items the conveyance carries on board, including those to be transshipped and those to be carried to the subsequent ports of call. Entry in the Import Department of Customs House. On receipt of information regarding the arrival of the goods, the importers or their agents have to make an entry by filing a bill of entry in a prescribed form in the Import Department of Customs House. Presentation of bill of entry for appraisal. The bill of entry should be presented to the appraising counters along with the following necessary documents: import license if necessary, exporter's invoice, a copy of letter of credit, original bill of lading and its non-negotiable copy, 2 copies of packing list, weight specifications, manufacturer's test certificate, certificate of origin, delivery order issued by the shipping company or its agent, freight and insurance amount certificate if the import is on FOB terms. A declaration from importer that he has not paid commission to agents in India, customs declaration, catalog or drawing etc. for machinery imported In addition to these documents, the documents are also required to be submitted wherever necessary. If textile items are imported, then Textiles Commissioner endorsement or certificate. If chemical are imported, then literature showing chemical consumption. If steel is imported, then manufacturer's analysis certificate. If the documents are adequate for acceptance of the declared value, the bill of entry is completed by the appraiser and then it is countersigned by the assistant collector and sent to license section with an order to the dock staff for examination of goods before clearance. Clearance of goods. After the payment of duty, the original copy of bill of entry is retained in the customs house and the importer obtain the duplicate copy of bill of entry. If the description of the goods is found to be correct on the basis of declared and accepted particulars, clearance of goods is allowed by the appraiser. That is all for export procedure documentation. Hope you all have an informative session on documentation. Let us summarize what we have learned today. Major imports of India include cereals, edible oils, sugar, pulp and paper, newsprint, crude rubber and iron and steel. In India, all the activities related to import are handled by the Directorate General of Foreign Trade, that is DGFT. Export procedure consists of several commercial and regulatory formalities, which an exporter is required to complete during the course of export trade transactions. Best of luck. Take care.